Are Russian oligarchs finally admitting the truth about Russian forces? And are, now that they don't have to pretend, are they just wasting more and more of their troops in useless offensives? Let's get into all of it right now. I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It is November 6th, 2022. This is your daily Ukraine update. Okay, so first and foremost, let's take a look at the tactical map. While there hasn't been any great exchange of territory, what is interesting is that in the past 24 hours, you've seen more Russian attacks across this line of contact from south of Bakhmut to actually all the way as far north as Crimea. But what's interesting to me is that when we look at the actual location of these attacks, it's not at all clear that they have any value, right? Like, look at this here. We could see in the terrain that I guess maybe they want to seize this small town here up against this small river. But again, it's not clear if they did that it would serve any larger strategic purpose, right? They would still be blocked by the river. And if their goal is to fold the Ukrainian forces, you'd want to pick a different anchor point. You can see here, like, this would be a more logical point, right? Because that seems to be where they're most likely to have a strong point that you can fold up. Instead, they've just literally driven straight across this large road and into the Ukrainians. No, not a lot of room to maneuver or strategic thinking. This is just, someone must have told them to attack and they were like, well, there's only one road. But if there's one thing that you guys should know about the tactical environment, no matter where you are, it's that the enemy does terrain analysis too. The Ukrainians almost certainly looked at a map and are like, if the Russians are dumb enough to try to take this village and they want to use any of their tanks or APCs, especially in the muddy conditions of the fall and early winter, they're going to be coming right down the only improved road. So chances are this probably wasn't that effective an attack because the Ukrainians probably were sitting around expecting it. When we look even further south, you can see they also tried to attack here. Again, not clear that this is serving a larger objective. Like, why would these forces that were used on this attack, why would they not augment this one? Or vice versa. It just doesn't make any sense. You also, of course, have an assault near Bilohorivka. This kind of actually makes sense, right? Bilohorivka is a target of some strategic value, like tactical value, right? This salient makes Ukrainian forces vulnerable. They're sort of pushed up against this river here. And so, yeah, this one makes a little more sense. Simply because it's targeting vulnerable Ukrainian forces. But again, as you can see, there's just one really improved route into the city. The Ukrainians are almost certainly dug in here. And so they don't really have an element of surprise. It's mostly just throwing bodies down a path that Ukrainians are going to expect it. So it really says something. I think we're seeing something about the actual tactical commanders in the field here, that they really seem to be missing some of the nuance of fire and maneuver. You can see here, I'm not even clear on what has been attacked. I think this also is probably a more sensible assault, right? This is Russia trying to secure the entirety of the town of Berestove. That makes sense, right? You want to secure the whole town. You can turn it into a defensive strong point. It's like a mixed bag. You can almost see that some of these commanders, again, why would you not use these forces to help liberate the city, like, 10 kilometers away, that you could secure as a strong point? Like, why are you spreading your forces like this? And the attacks are like this all down the side, right? You can see the Wagner guys in Bakhmut, and we talked about yesterday, where they too are just, they just don't seem to have a real grasp of what they need to do tactically. Here we go. See, again, a major avenue of approach. And they're just like, all right, well, we're just going to shell it and drive into it. And you're just like, this isn't the way to do these things, right? You can be so much more effective with a little fire and maneuver, but it requires coordination, collaboration. And right now, what I'm seeing here is 8 different commanders doing their own thing, not really working with each other in any substantive way. And here's the weird thing is that, the Russian oligarchs in recent public statements have sort of revealed that even they don't think that things are really holding together very well, right? For example, Yevgeny Prigozhin has, of course, visited Kursk Oblast and met with business leaders, where he is attempting to raise an unspecified people's militia outside of Russian formal military command structures. And he's doing this literally as he is out there praising that Russia's cohesive army, all while acknowledging that he himself has almost total independence from the Russian military command. So the total insanity that even Prigozhin himself knows that they need a cohesive military with a single strategy to win, and then in the same speech acknowledges that he refuses to be part of that cohesive military and that he wants to expand his weird independent quasi-military operation. It's sort of insane. The fact that he can hold these thoughts in his brain simultaneously is honestly pretty impressive and almost insulting to the audience. What's also fascinating is who exactly constitutes Prigozhin's Wagner mercenaries. For a long time, rumors have swirled, they're almost not really rumors at this point, that there's prisoners being recruited into Wagner units, and that Wagner, of the 800 to 1,000 mercenaries lost in Ukraine in the last, I think it's probably 2 months, it looks like about 500 of them were prisoners, convicts. And there's also been rumors, right, that the Wagner Wagner mercenaries are refused medical care by civilian hospitals and by Russian MOD medical facilities. This makes sense. The MOD, I'm sure, is very overwhelmed, but also there are rumors that because the convicts are so prone to diseases like HIV or Hep C or other really dangerous communicable diseases that most militaries will screen out members, that actually physicians are refusing to care for them. And that's really, 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 really bad, because why would you sign up for a combat unit knowing that no one's going to care for you medically because they believe you and your brethren are infected? And when asked about it, Prigozhin just said, "We don't discriminate on the basis of illness." How very progressive of him. When we look over also at the DNR security minister, another mouthpiece for a senior official in a Russian, puppet state mouthpiece, he claimed on November 5th that Russian friendly fire may have caused up to 60% of total Russian losses since the end of Russian offensive operations in Mariupol in mid-May. Even if it's exaggerated, the fact that he's saying friendly fire could account for most Russian losses, this is not the flex you think it is. For the record, guys, friendly fire does happen, but 60% of casualties is insanely low. And it says, as we talked about, it demonstrates a lack of communication, command, control, and coordination among Russian forces. And this is what you would see. You would see literally in some of these maps, it's like the left hand and the right hand don't know what they're doing. even a situation like this, you could easily see becoming a friendly fire situation where you have Russian forces attacking in a northward direction, and then you have the same forces just a few kilometers away attacking in an eastward direction. It's possible that this is a coordinated assault, but remember, 10 kilometers is easily within the range of artillery and possibly even larger mortars. So it's definitely possible you could end up with friendly fire situations, even among these very densely packed, sort of weird attempts at an offensive. And like we said, if we can be reasonably certain that there's no coordination among these groups that are all launching their own independent attacks on just tactically, really just childlike strategies, there's no reason to believe that within these attacks, there's also not a comically bad fire control and fire coordination mechanisms. Anyway, guys, that is all I had for you for today. As always, thanks so much. If you want the edgy combat video breakdowns, the stuff that actually like YouTube won't let me show you, you want to become a member of the Patreon. New video just dropped 2 days ago, and it's a banger. It's got some wild stuff in there. Thanks to my Lieutenant tier patrons. You guys are the ones who make this really possible. I'll see you all in the next one.